Jill, I guess. Oh, we are live. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the last day of February, Protective Emergency Services Committee. So we'll start off with declarations of conflict of interest. Any? Seeing none. So we've called to order. Need approval of the agenda. Anybody? Anybody? Deputy Mayor Yankov. Anybody? Second? Usually the mayor.
You can do it yourself, I think.
I can do it? Okay, I'll second it. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay. And adoption of the minutes. If anybody has a chance to review the January 24th minutes, does anybody need a minute? Do we need an approval of that? Approved by Deputy Mayor Yankov. I'll second that. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we'll go into reports and discussions. And we're going to start off with Chief Mamie with Fire Operational Report.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick review of the operational report everybody should have in their package. Dates are January 17th and February 17th inclusive. 12 general inspections, 5 inspections with hazard compliance orders, 3 inspections were closed out, 10 permit and plan reviews, 6 fire investigations, a very busy time for the inspectors and the investigators, 4 education sessions placed on. We're starting to gear that back up again. Emergency responses, 102. Very high once again. Station 1, 66, Station 2, 34, and 2 inspector callouts. Departmental training consisted of incident command system theory and practical, tours of the high hazard occupancies in town, a number of them, radio communications practice, aerial apparatus operations, that's the 100-foot aerials, fire and smoke rating principles and theories, ropes, knots, and equipment rigging, rescue and power equipment familiarization, and work with the emergency response guidebook, which is the national international standard for hazmat response. We've also had numerous members completing their medical first responder recertification courses, their hazmat awareness courses, and emergency vehicle operations course, which we just had this past Saturday with 17 people on it. Our 4 new recruits continue their level 1 firefighting course at the PEI Fire School in Winslow area. Department activities, a very busy time for the department in preparations for the Canada Games. Both inspectors were flat out getting into all facilities around the city and making sure everything was safe. UPEI being a main concern due to the amount of both volunteers and athletes staying in some of the facilities. Concluded the firefighter 2 job posting and hope to repost for the remaining openings shortly. Be meeting with HR today. The department has been experiencing high call volumes, as I mentioned, due to some weather events and increased activity in the city. With more people in the city, there's more events going on. There's more people in the facilities, leading to more events. And with the weather events, these fast freezes and then the thaws are causing lots of sprinkler activations, sprinkler systems being burst. So lots of responses there. After the last one, I think the plumbing companies we were dealing with, they had about 40 of them ahead of them, so lots of places. Assisting with significant structure fire in North River's jurisdiction, had 5 of our apparatus and over 25 members involved, and that was a full day of firefighting out there. Quite an event with a home and several barns. The department is also preparing for more in-house tours and training sessions, along with our Change Your Clocks, Change Your Batteries event at McDonald's on University Avenue, March 11th, which is a good sign, as that's when we set the clocks or put the clocks ahead and get more sunlight here. Right? Okay. That concludes my operation report, Chair, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
The only question is just more curiosity. Education sessions, what are they entailing? Are they with schools or what?
That's correct, Chair. They're some of them are pre-kindergarten, and grade schools all the way through. We have them in-house, and we also go out and do some on-site training with them as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? So we'll go on, Chief Mamie again with capital budget discussion, 23-24.
Yes, Chair. Both of those, the capital and the operational budget, I think we'd be able to bring them up and discuss more in depthly in the closed session. There's a couple of new initiatives and changes there that would be better discussed closed. So I'll leave both of those reports to close if that's permissible with you.
Certainly. Thank you. Chief McConnell, operational personnel report for police.
Thank you, Chair. Calls for service over the month of February were 1178 compared to 1120 the same period for last year. Our street crime unit had a significant drug seizure on February 10th I'd like to highlight, where they seized speed and cocaine as a result, and charges are pending against individuals related to that. We also had 103 calls for service related to mental health over the month, which certainly, as I always try to highlight, the mental health crisis that's in our province and city. So something we're working with other service providers to serve the public on. We've also increased extra patrols in the Park Street area due to concerns of residents. We had 26 calls for service over the month, and we're doing our best to meet that community expectation in that area. We're currently executing our Canada Games policing plan, and happy to report it's all going well. We're also certainly at a time of the year where our officers in the front line are experiencing high volumes of calls because of the increased population. So busy time for our officers. And that's my operational report, Chair.
Okay. Thank you for that, Chief McConnell. Personnel report?
Under personnel, staff have continued the Police Act related training, and we've also underwent a promotional competition which is still ongoing, and should have the results for that competition shortly, which will create a short list for any future promotions over the next couple of years. We're also, officers and staff are also looking forward for the completion of the upgrades to our office at 10 Kirkwood Drive, which are ongoing, and we'll be happy to get that complete. They're long overdue. And just turn to my deputies there for anything else under personnel. Okay, thank you. That concludes my personnel.
Thank you, Chief McConnell. And you're up next again with bylaws.
Under bylaw, I think it might be a good opportunity to discuss the letter relating to the parking bylaw, relating to parking forgiveness program. So we received a letter from Downtown Charlottetown, Inc., with their endorsement regarding a parking forgiveness program. I spoke to my staff internally, and we're certainly willing to play our part to try to make this work, if that is committee and council's desire to do so.
Okay. So this program, Chief McConnell, it's ongoing in other municipalities? Is this?
That's my understanding, Chair, that they have similar programs in Halifax and other municipalities in the region.
Okay.
I wondered, Chief, what the impact on the revenue would be for the month of April.
So it's not complete revenue loss, and it is, when we reached out to other municipalities, there were really no clear indications on what the impact was to revenue. I think it's something that we're just going to have to realize as if it goes ahead to what it is, because there's certain parameters that they have to meet to be eligible for the forgiveness program. So how much participation from people that are ticketed will depend, but we do not expect it to be that impactful.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask a supplemental to that?
Absolutely.
Just checking with you, Chief, to see if you have any thoughts on whether you're going to need additional staffing and resources to manage the program.
I don't think I know the answer to that yet. I spoke to my parking ticket coordinator, and who has talked firsthand with other municipalities. There is some logistical challenges to it, but in talking to my staff, they're willing to see what the impact is and certainly provide feedback as it ongoing. And as if if it does go ahead in some sort of trial process, then we can really assess the overall impacts, both financial and resource-wise, and take that back to committee.
So another question, I'm just reading in where under how it's worked in other downtowns, where there is a monetary value where you'd purchase the ticket, would that revenue come back to the city? Does anybody know, or where would that be going?
Well, it's more, that revenue is more of economic development. You know, I guess you could look at it, the money comes back to the
BIA.
city and the fact of dollars spent within our city in businesses.
Okay.
But it would not show on the books as revenue at the police department or city.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
I guess the only other question I have, Mr. Chair, is I think in the letter, I don't have it in front of me right now, but I think there were several different times that were being recommended. Is it the recommendation of this committee that we proceed with all of those time slots, or try the first one on for size and then decide on the future dates after that?
Yes, in the letter, they've asked for April 1st to the 30th, September 4th to the 30th, and the month of December. So I guess, do we ask for consensus of everyone to see, do they want to go with the 1 month trial and see how it works? And we'll bring that to council? Do we ask for consensus?
I would love to give it a try. I just don't think we have enough to move it towards council without either the mayor or Kevin here, do we? Under Robert's Rules of Order, are we even able to, if we have to pass a resolution, are we able to without another person?
Sue?
Or do we need
You
a
have quorum, Deputy Mayor, so that you can move it forward and Councillor McKinnon can second it.
Then I will move that we move this along to council for their final decision, and maybe we try it for the month of April?
Nope, I second that. Yeah, we'll give it on a 1
Yeah.
month basis and see how it works for the city.
Now, is there a lot of setup to try a month? Is it better to do all 3 months and do a 1 year? Or is it problematic to do 1 month?
There certainly will be some communication that'll have to happen in regards to the program and some changes in internal process. You know, 1 month may be a short sampling. You know, I'd probably suggest a couple to make the efforts worthwhile, and because there will have to be some internal changes for sure.
How
guess-
about, Chair?
Sure.
I have how about then I propose that we go with the pilot for the year and do April, September, and the month of December, so that better to really then analyze it for the following year?
Yeah, amend that initial resolution to do a full year. Before I second that, a question for the chief. Do we have enough time right now to get this in motion for April 1? Or should we wait and initiate in September?
Well, it certainly will be challenging. You know, if it would take some additional resources, that would we could certainly be close to that timeframe, Chair. I think if that's the will of committee and council, we can we can start the ball in motion if the decision is made quick enough, I guess.
Because we can second it here, but we have to give it to council to get the approval, and by the time that approval comes into play and you get the notice, you're down to a very short
Yeah,
window.
There's some partners in this equation too that we rely on, like DCI itself, also our economic development within the city, and certainly our communications for the city to, make people aware of the initiative to take advantage of. And so some of it's out of our control, but I'm confident that we could probably, the changes within the practice within the police services and the related to this would be done by April.
Okay. With that, sorry, yes?
I just wondered, I know the proposed dates from Downtown Inc. were April, September, and December. Do we know if, just so that there wouldn't be such a rush, is there any reason that we couldn't substitute the month of May or April for the month of May? Or is there a specific reason why April, September, and December were chosen?
Sue?
Mr. Chair, I suspect, to your question, Deputy Mayor, that they're trying to address some shoulder season kinds of activity with April. I mean, it's certainly something we could take back to them, but I'm thinking that if you got to the March 13th council meeting with this, that would still gives them a 2-week window to pump it up. That's just my thought.
Okay, with that information, I will second that motion to move forward with a 1-year pilot project. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Is that it for bylaws, Chief?
Yes, Chair, that's it for bylaw. I'll turn it over to Deputy McCarron now for community policing report.
Okay, Debbie?
Okay. The Community Action Team and the Wellness Team have been working busy with the Canada Games, attending events, and the Illumination Festival. The first week, there was 109 separate sporting events throughout Charlottetown and 8 events at the Illumination Festival. And so far, we've had no major incidents.
Good to hear.
They
Everybody's
also
here for a
did
good
the,
time.
Ukrainian March for Solidarity on the 25th as well.
Thank you. Chief McCall, I assume the 23-24 operational budget discussion, we'll leave that for closed session.
That's correct.
And collision reporting agreement.
Yes, so you'll see that in your package. This is something we discussed with the previous committee numerous times. It's been something that's been in the works over the last year and has received support for. We're looking to, in the agreement, there's an MOU, an agreement that would have to be signed by city officials. But the initiative is to create a collision reporting center within the Charlottetown Police Services building at 10 Kirkwood Drive. And statistics that would be garnered from this type of reporting system would be used to improve road safety and fed back to the province. And this would be actually help with resourcing issues because there's evidence from other provinces like Ontario where initiatives like this have been ongoing for a couple of decades, that non-injury accidents and accidents that are non-reportable that police are required by law to attend to can be reported to this collision center and therefore saving our officers to having to attend. So we're hopeful that have a chance to review this, and there has to be some wording changes in the agreement and who the signatures are. But we wanted to bring it to committee today to put it on your radar, because we will be bringing it forth to committee for approval at some point in the near future.
Okay. So do we vote to bring this to council, or is that, do we make a motion, Deputy? Or,
I don't think we do yet, do we?
I think you just may want, I think, Chief, are you bringing this here just for information purposes only now, or do you want them to review the contract and forward it on to council with some amendments?
Yeah, so because the committee structure change, this is something we talked about for, a few times with the previous committee. I just wanted to bring it today for the first blush. I'm going to make changes in the agreement and redraft it and bring it forward for the next committee meeting.
So, Mr. Chair, it's just for information purposes today. There's
Yeah.
no action required.
okay,
That's
perfect. No, thanks for the clarification.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I noticed in the agreement that the chief's mentioned he's going to make some amendments. So as you know, this body is a recommending body only. So your committee can't actually enter into legal agreements. So you'll have to change the language for it being the city of Charlottetown that is the party rather than the standing committee, I think is one of the things that the chief will update. And then, and again, I'm not sure there's any financial implications to this. So if the chief can just speak to that.
Yeah, this is a no-cost initiative for the CPS. We're giving up a little bit of real estate within our building, but the trade-off is well worth it. And the Charlottetown Action Support Services Limited will provide staff and all the other resources associated to this initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Introduction of new business. I have something to bring up. Mr. Mayor was supposed to be here, but I guess he's still tied up. Here he comes, okay. Thank you, perfect timing. So I'll start it here while your worship gets comfortable. In, I guess, the aftermath of our recent cold snap that we had there, the city council were questioned many times with not being able to provide a warming shelter. And at that time, there was other resources in place for the vulnerable community. So I had some conversations with your worship that we'd like to set up a committee or begin making a policy and plan in place, working with the MO, and getting procedures ready. So for future events, whether it's cold snaps, too hot, flooding, or any environmental emergencies that we need to reach out to the people. So anything you'd like to add to that?
Mr. Chair, thank you for your patience. And I did speak to our chief, Fire Chief Tim Mamie, about this issue. Deputy Mayor Yankoff, and I know yourself, were you at the semi-annual meeting at the FPEIM 2023? I know the Deputy Mayor was there, and so was Tanya Mullally, who is the chief of, I think she's in charge of EMO for the Director of Public Safety. And I asked the question at the public session, or the question and answer session, about the municipality setting up their own EMO team in a municipality. And she said, yeah, that should be in your emergency measures organization manual, which I have a copy of, and I think we should all get a copy of, and it's under our bylaw, emergency measures bylaw, where the city of Charlottetown or any municipality that has emergency measures organization bylaw can create its own emergency measures organization to deal with catastrophic climatic events. And we're, as you know, Mr. Chair, we're seeing more of them. If it's not in the winter, like Hurricane or White Swan, or Hurricane Fiona in the fall. We're seeing flooding in the spring. In the summer, we're seeing heat waves. So I think we have to look at what we can do as a municipality to just address some of those needs that come about because of lack of shelter or lack of a place to go in order to provide some comfort. And I think this is, I'd like to put this, just to give you notification that I'd like to have our committee, the Standing Committee for Protective and Emergency Services, discuss this as a committee and put something in place going forward. And that would collaborate with the provincial EMO, but Tanya Manali said, Philip, your protocols don't have to follow provincial protocols, because we have great confidence in our fire services, police services in all municipalities across the Prince Edward Island, which is, again, a credit to the people that we have in place here for protective emergency services in the city of Charlottetown. So I just want to give you Mr. Chair, a notification on it. And if you want to, there's also a section in the Municipal Government Act, Section 118, subsection 1, that also addresses this issue about EMOs it's called tabletop practices. And it's a great way going forward. And just for your information, I did speak to Reverend Amanda over at the Kirk of St. James, because she did send a letter, Chief Mamie, about assisting any future catastrophic climatic events that their church, that does a great service for the community in many different ways, will be willing to be a partner in providing a reception center. So that reception center is just not for warming, it can be cooling. I like to refer to them as reception centers because, as Deputy Mayor Yankoff knows from Fiona, and it was addressed last night by Steve Bellamy, the CEO, how they opened up their Confederation Center facility, the concourse, and Mr. Bellamy recognized Deputy Mayor Yankoff being there day in, day out to help with any persons, families that come in looking for warmth, looking for recharging of cell phones, cup of coffee, or something to eat during that critical start of Fiona. So could I lead that with you, and Mr. Chair, and if we can just look at doing something going forward, that would greatly address, and I don't really like to refer to it as knee-jerk reactions to something that happens, but sometimes we are put into a situation because of social media or because of what we, get lots of calls from people from different areas of the city that we have to address it. This is a plan in place, or will be a plan in place. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you.
can I just add a
Sorry.
footnote to that?
Sure.
I've already spoken to the fire chief about continuing to build on our Fiona report that hasn't been tabled yet in front of council. And I think this is an opportunity to build that piece into that report as lessons learned, best practices, how we move forward with that particular service delivery. We can build that right into that report so that we're not running a parallel course with that specific subject matter.
And Mr. Chair, just to follow up with our acting CAO, yes, I'm waiting for that debriefing of Hurricane Fiona, because there's some issues I want to address there that I'm sure that councillors, the deputy, heard from different residents and interested persons in the community how we can make things better. I think
the system has detected that a few lines are still connected to the conference and will attempt to disconnect them. If you wish to remain in the conference, please press *1. 15.
Yeah, so this is an opportunity to consolidate both efforts and put a plan in place going forward. Look, I think as a city, anything we do an excellent job. Chief McConnell, Chief Tim Mamie, and the staff, Jennifer, Deputy Chief McCarron, and Deputy Chief Combs, we do a great job. I just think that we get caught up with, the emotion sometimes around these issues. We got a great place to make things happen, and we've done it quickly in the past, and we're going to be doing it just as quick in the future. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I think the response efforts that the city did with Fiona were phenomenal, and they were fast, and I didn't get any complaints about negativity of being too slow. I got a lot of compliments on how things were cleaned up, expedited. So it sounds like the ball is rolling with yourself, acting CAO, and we'll keep it rolling. Good.
Chair, Your Worship, thank you very much. in discussing with the mayor and yourself, Chair, when you had a question about this, pointing out our emergency measures book here, which incorporates all of our standard operating guidelines, definitions, like the separates between shelters, reception centers, who can activate and when, the executive group's power, which is the mayor, deputy mayor, members of council, CAO. I think what's time for is a really good review with all council members even, as a new council especially, to go through our book here and make sure everybody's aware of the powers that both executive groups and the management group have to play. And when we enact all of those things, what takes place, city structure, city infrastructure, city resources, how they kick in, and what we do around a definition for activating them. We do have in place in our current SOGs, it's got some winter storms, tropical storms, post-tropical storms, hurricanes. We just have to expand that definition and make sure everybody's aware and who has the authority to do such. And I will forward a proposed training session after we get through the budget season here. Thanks, Chair, Your Worship.
And Chief, just again, not to belabor this, but because we have a world that has been greatly affected and will continue to be greatly affected by climate change, that we have to look at catastrophic climatic events, and those can cover many areas, but it doesn't just cover one season. As you said, Chief, it covers the 4 seasons, and I think that's what we have to be prepared for. It's all about being prepared. Thank you.
Yeah, nope, I agree. And yeah, after we get the budget out of the way, Chief, we'll have a discussion and we'll set up a time for council and review the binder. Any other new business? Okay. Need a motion to move into closed session as per section 119, subsection 1, subsection B, undisclosed confidential information, subsection D, human resources matters, and E, a matter still under consideration of the MGA of PEI. Mover? Moved by Your Worship, Mr. Brown, seconded by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. We're back in open session. Need a motion for adjournment. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brown. Thank you very much, everybody.